What would be the biggest shock for a common medieval person if they appeared in the present day? Imagine for a moment a peasant from, say, 14th century England, perhaps a farmer, a blacksmith, or a weaver. Let us call him Thomas. Thomas spends his days toiling the land, his world circumscribed by his village, the local lord's manor, and the parish church. His most significant journeys might be to a nearby market town. Now, pluck Thomas from his mud and wattle hut and drop him onto a bustling street in a modern metropolis. What would truly shatter his understanding of reality? His initial shock would undoubtedly be a sensory overload of unparalleled magnitude. The sheer light would be blinding. Thomas lives in a world dictated by the sun and the flickering flames of candles or a hearth. Night is darkness, profound and absolute. Suddenly, he is bathed in the relentless glow of electric streetlights, the vibrant neon of signs, and the pulsating artificial light emanating from countless windows. Even in daylight, or the incessant chatter of countless human voices, disembodied and amplified through earbuds, would be disorienting. And the smell. Thomas's world is one of earth, sweat, wood smoke, animal dung, and the faint, pervasive scent of unwashed bodies and inadequate sanitation. Stepping into the present day, he would be met with an almost antiseptic cleanliness by comparison. The air, though sometimes polluted by exhaust, largely lacks the organic stench of his time. Instead, he would encounter a bewildering array of artificial scents. The chemical tang of detergents, the cloying sweetness of perfumes, the intoxicating aroma of global cuisines, spices he couldn't possibly identify, wafting from restaurants. The very concept of waste being whisked away, hidden from sight and smell, would be an unfathomable magic. Beyond the immediate sensory assault, Thomas would grapple with the radical transformation of his physical environment. The roads, for instance, are smooth, hard, and black, not rutted dirt tracks. Buildings soar to impossible heights, constructed from materials like glass and steel, shimmering and reflecting, defying the very architectural principles he understands. There are no horses pulling carts, no oxen plowing fields in the city center. Instead, metallic carriages, devoid of visible beasts, glide silently or hurtle with terrifying speed. He would see not just a few but thousands of them, each one a self-propelled miracle. The sheer scale and density of human habitation would be staggering. His village might house a few hundred souls. A modern city, millions. The very notion of so many people coexisting, without a defined hierarchy of lord and peasant immediately apparent, would challenge his understanding of social order. This leads us to the societal upheaval. Thomas's life is rigidly structured by the feudal system. He knows his place in the great chain of being. He is a peasant beholden to his lord, who is beholden to a higher noble, and so on up to the king and God. In the present day, he would see no immediate sign of a lord's authority. There are no armed retainers patrolling the streets, no grand manor houses dominating the skyline. Instead, he might encounter police officers, men and women in uniforms, who seem to wield an impersonal authority derived from an abstract concept called the law, rather than personal fealty. The very idea of democracy, where the common folk elect their leaders, would be utterly beyond his comprehension. "The king is chosen by the people?" he might exclaim. "But that's blasphemy. Kings are chosen by God. Perhaps the most profound societal shock, however, would be the position of women. In Thomas's world, women are largely confined to domestic roles, subject to their fathers, husbands, or brothers. They rarely hold positions of power or engage in public life beyond the market or church. Imagine his utter bewilderment, and perhaps scandal, at seeing women driving cars, leading companies, wearing trousers, speaking their minds freely, and working in professions once exclusively male. The idea of a female doctor, a female judge, or even a female head of state would be a concept so revolutionary it might cause him to question the very fabric of divine order. The casual intermingling of men and women in public spaces, often dressed in what he might perceive as revealing or inappropriate attire, would undoubtedly shock his sensibilities. And then there is the question of faith. For Thomas, the church is the absolute center of his universe. It dictates his calendar, his morality, his understanding of life and death, and his ultimate salvation. Its imposing stone edifice dominates his village. Its priests are figures of immense authority. In our world, he would see churches, yes, but often as historical monuments, dwarfed by commercial buildings, or as one of many places of worship alongside mosques, synagogues, and temples. The pervasive secularism of modern society, the freedom of religion or no religion, and the casual disregard for Sunday as a day of strict observance would leave him profoundly unsettled. The very idea that people could choose not to believe or believe in something entirely different would be a heresy of monumental proportions. The transformation of daily life would be equally staggering. Let's consider food. Thomas's diet is primarily seasonal, simple, and often monotonous. Bread, pottage, whatever vegetables his garden yields, and perhaps meat a few times a year. He knows famine and scarcity. In the modern world, he would be confronted by a supermarket, a literal cornucopia of food from every corner of the globe, available year-round. Brightly colored fruits and vegetables from distant continents, meats of every description, pre-packaged meals, ice cream, chocolate, an overwhelming abundance that would seem like a perpetual feast. The concept of refrigeration, preserving food for weeks or months, would be pure magic. He might be equally baffled by the sheer amount of food waste, a concept utterly foreign to someone who understands the constant struggle for sustenance. The advances in health and medicine would border on the miraculous. Thomas lives in a world where disease is rampant, life expectancy is short, and even a simple cut can lead to a fatal infection. Child mortality is high, and a common cold can be life-threatening. He would witness hospitals, clean, sterile environments where people in white coats perform what appear to be miracles. Mending broken bones with precision, eradicating once deadly diseases with tiny pills, replacing failing organs, and extending lives far beyond his wildest dreams. The very notion of sanitation, clean water flowing directly into homes, waste being removed, germ theory, would seem like a divine intervention that has banished the scourges he knows so well. He would see people living to ages he could only dream of, their bodies bearing far fewer marks of toil and hardship. And what of knowledge and communication? Thomas is likely illiterate. Information travels slowly, by word of mouth, or through the laborious copying of manuscripts by scribes. Books are rare, precious objects, largely confined to monasteries and the very wealthy. Now, imagine him encountering a smartphone. A small, flat slab of glass and metal that contains the accumulated knowledge of humanity, can show him images and sounds from anywhere in the world, and allows him to speak instantly with someone thousands of miles away. He might believe it's a magical scrying mirror or a device used by powerful sorcerers. The very concept of the internet, a vast, invisible web connecting billions of people and trillions of pieces of information, would be utterly incomprehensible. He would see people constantly staring at these devices, their attention seemingly elsewhere, communicating with invisible entities. Even the fundamental concept of time would be different. Thomas's time is measured by the sun, the seasons, the church bell's hourly chimes, and the rhythm of agricultural labor. Modern time is precise, fragmented into seconds and milliseconds, dictated by atomic clocks. He would observe people constantly checking small devices on their wrists or in their pockets, adhering to rigid schedules, rushing from one appointment to another. The pace of life would be bewilderingly fast, a constant state of urgency rather than the patient, cyclical rhythm of his agrarian existence. Ultimately, the biggest shock for Thomas would not be a single invention or a solitary societal shift, but the overwhelming accumulation of them, leading to a complete redefinition of reality. He would be faced with a world where nature has seemingly been tamed to an astonishing degree. Light created from unseen forces, warmth in winter, coolness in summer, food from everywhere, disease held at bay. A world where individuals have unprecedented freedom and autonomy, where knowledge is democratized and instantly accessible, and where social hierarchies, though they still exist, bear no resemblance to the feudal bonds that defined his very being. He would likely conclude one of two things. Either he has stumbled into a demonic illusion, a hellish parody of his world designed to torment him, or he has somehow been transported into the literal kingdom of heaven, a place of impossible comfort and prosperity beyond anything his scriptures described. The sheer scope of human progress over half a millennium, its rapidity and its profound impact on every facet of existence, would be the most utterly shattering realization. It would fundamentally challenge his understanding of God's order, human potential, and the very boundaries of the possible. He might stand there, mouth agape, contemplating a future that looks less like an evolution of his past and more like an entirely new creation. If you found this journey through time as fascinating as I did, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel for more explorations into the depths of history. And tell me in the comments below, what other historical scenarios, what other periods or forgotten aspects of human life would you like us to uncover in our next video? Your insights help us shape our future discussions.